we'll give people probably like 2 minutes or so to get on. I see we have quite the group, which is great. I have to, Sean, you're right. Like I have to jump on another call in about 20 minutes, but I did wanted to make sure that I was here for the beginning. Um, how so it looks like another rainy fall day out there. So
And are most of the people from Montreal Street at home or at work?
no, I guess most people are in the office. I think so. I'm not sure who is in the community room. Sarah, are you in the community room or in the conference room?
Yeah, there's about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's about 10 of us.
Awesome. So we have about 10 people in a safe distance, obviously, in our conference room. I don't want any rumors out there. And we have a whole bunch of people that are calling in from a variety of places. I think there's staff from housing and social services. There's also some other city staff, so that's fantastic. So I guess with that, I might just kick it off, and I think I will hand it over to Pavna in a minute. So very excited to host this second online Seeing is Believing tour. I know we did this about a month ago, which I think worked really well. So it's so great to have the United Way help us out with that again, and I'm so excited about the great work that the United Way and all the partner agencies are doing. I know you're all changing lives, and we're all sharing a lot of similar clients. So I'm very excited that today we'll be focusing on youth. I know we have folks from youth diversion, home-based housing, and pathways to education. So I think it's going to be really interesting to hear from all of you on what you're doing, and probably also how COVID-19 has impacted the work that you do. So that being said, I'm looking forward to obviously the part that I can join, but generally just listening and learning more from you. And I think with that, I will hand it over to Pavna. I do recognize that last time we had our bus driver, so unfortunately we don't have our bus driver today. For the panelists, we had one of our staff kind of mimic our bus tour behind our desk. But I hopefully this will do it as well. So with all that being said, I hope you'll be inspired by speakers today. And with that, I will hand it over to Pavna.
Thank you. Thanks, Ruth. So my name is Pavna. I'm with the United Way, and some of you, I recognize your names from the last tour and a long relationship with the city. This is no substitute for a real tour, because on a tour you would actually get to see and meet Sean and Logan and Danny in person. We'll try to make the best of this situation. So we'll intersperse comments with videos, and we'll open it up for questions and answers. At any time you can use the chat box and we'll address some of your questions, but at the end we'll certainly open it up to see if you have anything you'd like to share. So I am really thrilled that this topic is about youth, because at the end of the day, for the United Way, we want to make sure that we focus on prevention. So the earlier we start, the more impactful we believe we can be. And the other benefit of starting early is that we avoid some of the trauma that faces long-term issues like housing, substance use, mental health. So again, the more we can intervene at the early stages, the better off we are. In fact, one of the programs through youth homelessness was through youth diversion intersections, and the youngest client there was actually 6 years old. So when we talk about youth, we're talking about the broad spectrum of how can we help kids and youth. And of course, we have intervention services for adults who again slip through the gaps, and we're trying to catch them at any stage when they're ready for change. But what's amazingly powerful is the work that our agencies do collectively for youth in our community. In fact, our community, Kingston, has been recognized for the work we've done, particularly around youth homelessness. We started a collective impact initiative, but that's not to ignore the great work that had already happened. We couldn't have done that work if we hadn't built the trust and the services and the programs to lead to the point where we could actually deal with some of these complex issues. So the first thing about youth is there is so much possibility, so much future. And Sean will tell you a little bit about how youth really want to make a difference. They want to thrive, and how we as a community owe it to them to do what it takes to help them thrive. And that's where the United Way comes in. We are there to make sure we help youth, not just in one pocket, but right across. So you'll see it across the spectrum, whether it's Logan talking about pathways and how pathways helps increase the graduation rate, which we know, and all of you know more than anyone else, really ends with fewer people on low income and poverty, right? So the more we can help kids graduate, the more we can support them. I was shocked when I first came to Kingston 20 years ago to learn that youth in Kingston and area have one of the highest rates of substance use and addictions. And as a percent of the population, it was higher than even Toronto. So that was a shock to me. But what is amazing is the innovative programs that you'll hear about. For example, we do have elementary school counseling because we recognize that youth don't wait to high school to start experimenting with drugs. And sometimes they have family members who have issues with addictions and substance use. So again, once youth are homeless, what we really appreciate is the whole spectrum of services that wraps around them. So you'll hear from Danny about transitional housing and how we really believe, and we're so grateful with the city, that the city, Ruth, has acknowledged that transitional housing is really a pathway to housing, and that it is an important part of how you stabilize as adults. So again, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our agencies. We'll start with Sean, who many of you have visited and heard in previous years on tours. Sean Quigley is the Executive Director of Youth Diversion. I believe you've been there about 30 years, Sean? I'm just kidding. Okay, he hasn't. So I'll turn it over to Sean, and he'll tell you exactly how long he's been there and what he does.
Thanks, Pavna. I appreciate the intro, and I'll be brief because most of you have heard me talk, and I do have a video that I want to show that will take up most of my time. But just real quickly, the United Way funds our rebound program, our mentoring program, and our Kairos substance use and addiction services that support, between those three programs, support close to 400 to 450 kids in Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington County. I want to read you a quick letter. This past summer, we were able to continue to operate our summer rebound program thanks to funding from the United Way through your donations, where most agencies weren't able to provide services this past summer. And this is just a little bit of feedback from a young man that participated in our program. So James is a 12-year-old youth living at home with his mom. His family faces poverty every day, and there isn't often money at the end of the month for recreational activities. James was the summer camp's biggest supporter. He requested a kit every week, no matter the activity, and he always signed on to our virtual meetings afterwards to participate with staff and his peers. James always thanks staff profusely at the end of the activity, saying he has never done so many cool things in one summer. Youth like James remind us that what we do really does matter, and it doesn't take a lot. Whether it's recreation, counseling, or just peer support, having these opportunities available for young people, when you think about the value of that prevention, I can't wait to see where James ends up in about 12 or 14 years from now and see how successful he is. And it only cost us $2.45 a day to do that. So what I'd like to do, and I'm open for questions afterwards, and I can talk more about the agency, but I wanted to get to the video and then make sure that there's lots of time for Logan and Danny to chat as well. So some of you might remember this young lady in this video. She has done a lot of talks for us in the past, and when it's done, I think the video tells you where she is at right now, which is an incredible journey to where she started from. I think it was Dr. Seuss that said, sometimes it's not about the journey, it's about the destination. So Sophie, if you could play the video.
Local love in action. Last year, over 59,000 people were helped locally, right here in Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, and Addington. Your local love changes their lives.
So thank you, Alexis, for taking the time to do this. I know that you are, about 5,000 miles away from us right now?
Yeah,
And,
pretty close to.
I know that you anticipate Halloween and you anticipate Christmas, and now you're anticipating the United Way campaign. So it's great that you reached out to us and you wanted to do a video because you've been a huge supporter and huge help for the United Way in past. So thank you for doing this.
Yes, no problem. It feels great to be back into helping the United Way out with their 2020 campaign.
Well, not to mention with everything that's going on, right? I mean, with COVID, it's a different time, and even more so now, the importance of being able to support this campaign, right?
Oh, 100%.
So you're now living in BC. How come you wanted to create this video for the United Way?
So for the past probably 2-3 years, I have been part of volunteering with United Way and working with them during their campaigns for the year. And I was starting my year off in school in September this year, and I thought to myself, like, oh, something's missing. Like, something's missing. I'm not as busy as I typically am. And then, like, it hit me like, oh my gosh, the 2020 campaign. So I reached out to Sean and said, like, hey, is there any way I can get involved in this? I know I'm in BC, but everything's done on Zoom anyways. So I just really wanted to be a part of, helping an organization that gave so much to me when I was in need as a child and as a young youth. So I'm just happy to be back into the swing of things and giving back to somebody who gave back to me.
So with that in mind, are you comfortable to share with us a little bit how you became involved in youth diversion?
Oh, 100%. So when I was in grade 10 in high school, I'll give you the short and sweet version. In grade 10 in high school, my vice principal decided that I need to be connected with some intervention strategies. So they reached out to youth diversion, and I came to school the one day and there was a lovely counselor named Dave sitting there waiting to see me. And, at the start, I thought to myself, like, I'm barely at school anyways, good luck. Like, just because a counselor's here doesn't mean I'm going to come. But Dave really opened up and showed me that I could be comfortable within the safe space of the school, showed me that there was people out there who really cared for me and wanted me to be the best person that I possibly could be. And he gave me the time and emotional support that I wasn't necessarily receiving from home or my school at that point in my life.
And so what was the connection between you and Dave?
Dave was my rock. He was my substance abuse counselor. He was my friend that I could call during the day if I needed to chat about something. He was my biggest supporter and my biggest fan. And still to this day, I feel a ball in my throat. Still to this day, I will call Dave when anything exciting happens in my life, whether it's a fun, exciting thing, or maybe like I don't know if I should be excited about this. Like, is this okay? I still call him for everything. He, hands down, has been one of my biggest supporters in my life and my journey to get to where I am today. And the fact that I'm still able to keep that connection with him means a lot. Means a lot to me.
So let's talk about that journey. What would you say has been sort of the hardest thing that you've had to overcome throughout your adolescence?
When I was in high school, I ended up getting mixed into the wrong crowd and decided to start trying some substances that I probably would not have tried had I stayed friends with the people I went into high school with. However, come partway through grade 10, almost grade 11, I ended up starting to go out to the bars and partying with my friends. And I met a group of guys at one of the bars there in Kingston who decided to take advantage of my vulnerabilities, and they ended up human trafficking me. And that is probably one of the hardest things I have had to overcome, and I still struggle with things to this day. But having people at Youth Diversion like Dave, who were able to connect me with resources like SAC, the Sexual Assault Center Kingston, and connect me with some different liaisons at Kingston Police, was really beneficial and very crucial in getting me to where I am today. Having Dave be there to support me through all of that and make sure that I knew I had a shoulder to lean on when I needed some help was great. And it was probably the most life-changing thing that I have ever been through, was having somebody to support me through that. Yeah.
And here you are.
And here I am.
Where exactly are you right now?
Right now, I am in Mission, British Columbia, which is in the Fraser Valley, Lower Mainland. It's pretty close to Vancouver, about an hour away.
I mean, in the physical structure, where are you?
Physical structure. I am at a school right now. So I actually work in Kingston. I ended up working for the same school board that kicked me out, expelled me. And then I picked up and moved across the country. And now I have a job as a child and youth worker at a school in British Columbia. And I'm channeling my inner Dave every single day, because I want to be able to reach kids the way that he reached me in my youth. And I want to be able to make a difference like he made a difference in my life. And I want kids to know that there's always somebody rooting for them, and that they always have somebody on their team, whether they see that or feel that or not.
So you now have an opportunity. You're no longer even in Ontario, but you still reached out to find a way to support the United Way. Where do you think you would be if not for the work that the United Way does every year to provide funding for agencies such as Youth Diversion, Sexual Assault Center, and all the other ones that supported you?
I'm scared to think of where I would be today had I not had support from local agencies that United Way supports. I would probably be addicted to drugs. I have no idea where I would be. Human trafficking is a very scary, scary thing. And, you know, some people get taken from their hometown. Other people, you know, never show back up. They just disappear. So thinking about where I would be today had I not had some intervention with youth diversion is very scary. And it's not something I think about very often, because I know it would not be in a good place wherever I did end up. I know I certainly would not be as stable and happy as I am now. It would have been very bad, very, very bad.
So, you know, you're talking to lots of people out here in the Kingston community, trying to help them understand the value and the need to donate to the United Way. Why should somebody donate to the United Way?
Everybody should always be thinking of their loved ones when they're presented with an opportunity like this that the United Way is presenting to everybody in the community. If you think about, you know, a hardship that somebody has overcome, or a struggle or a barrier that has really made it difficult for people to thrive in life, and you think about one of your loved ones having to go through that and go through that by themselves, that should be enough for you to want to donate, to make sure that nobody else has to watch their loved ones struggle. And at the end of the day, we're all people. I've heard a lot of people say, you know, like, oh, that's somebody's brother, that's somebody's sister, that's somebody's wife, husband. Yeah, but at the end of the day, that's a person. And every person deserves a chance to be the best person that they can be. Every person deserves to have the same opportunities as everyone else in their community. And the United Way is striving to give everybody the same opportunities, to support everybody so they can have all the same chances in life to be the best person that they could be. And I think that when you think of it that way, it's kind of like a no-brainer. You want to help people so they can help you. And I think back to myself, going through high school and struggling with my addiction and being human trafficked, and I had been kicked out of my house, and my parents weren't speaking to me, and I barely had any friends. I had United Way supporting agencies. And if it wasn't for those agencies, I don't know what my life would look like. So if you maybe take some of my struggles and think about that versus some of your loved one's life, should be enough to want to donate.
And you know, as powerful as everything that you're talking about, all that cost $2.45 a day.
Yep.
That's what it cost us to be able to support you during your time of need. And now look at where you are. You know, you are now, you're paying it forward, you're giving it back. You are mentoring kids in a way that hopefully they don't have to go down the path that you went down, all for $2.45 a day.
Mm-hmm.
But does it take a lot, Alexis?
It does not take a lot. You know, any support that you guys show to United Way agencies positively affect people like myself. And if it wasn't for people like you donating, whether that's big or small, people like me might not have made it out the other end in a successful way.
What a great way to humanize the whole process, eh? You're a shining star, and we're so proud of you here in Kingston. Glad you're doing so well. Miss you a bunch.
I miss you guys too. Yes, for sure.
Thanks for doing this for us, Alexis.
No problem. Thank you so much for letting me continue to be connected with the United Way campaign there in Kingston. It means a lot to me.
They are thrilled. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
That was awesome. I miss Alexis because she is such an inspiring person. She has shown us the courage and what it takes to come out of difficult situations. And I cannot say enough about the work that you do, Sean, and your staff. You're absolutely amazing. And this is what we're talking about. As Alexis said, it's about people. We're all people. We're helping people. And that's what the United Way is about. It's your United Way. It's your campaign. It's your community. And together, we can impact lives. We can change lives. We can save lives. And that's what it's all about. So before we move over to Logan, any questions, any thoughts, any comments? You can use a chat box. You can unmute yourself, whatever you're comfortable. While we're waiting, Sean, did you have anything you wanted to add before we move to Logan?
You know, I think she said it all. Just watching that, I've seen it a few times. It still chokes me up, and it's not rocket science. I mean, everybody on this call contributed to her success, and I want to thank you all for that. Because if not for you, as she said, she doesn't know where she'd be.
Thank you. And again, thank you to all of you at the city, because you are part of the network of people who support people like Alexis. So thank you for all that you do in your real life, but also through the United Way. Last year, together you raised $100,000. That money has gone straight to help agencies like Pathways. So Logan Jackson is going to speak to you about Pathways to Education. And I know many of you are familiar with Pathways, but again, I am so impressed with everything that they do to support people and help them graduate high school. So Logan, I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. To start, I'm actually hoping that we'll be able to play the tour video that my colleague Roger had recorded before. That has a pretty good program overview. And then I'll talk both from my personal experiences as well as what Pathways kind of looks like now amidst COVID.
Sorry, just a second. It says my internet connection is unstable. Hold on here.
Hi, my name is Roger Romero, and I am a staff at Pathways to Education. Pathways to Education is a program of the Kingston Community Health Centers and is also a United Way partner agency. The mission of Pathways to Education is to break the cycle of poverty through education. We support students who live in the north end of Kingston, including Rideau Heights and Inner Harbor neighborhoods. Since its humble beginnings in 2010, Pathways Education currently serves over 300 high school students and has over 280 alumni. Pathways Education is proud to serve students with 4 areas of support. We offer after-school academic supports, mentorship programming, financial supports, and one-on-one advocacy. Advocacy is provided by student parent support workers, or think of them as graduation coaches. The partnership between Pathways Education and United Way is quite strong. This short video will give you a behind-the-scenes tour of Kingston Community Health Centers and Pathways Education and our response to COVID-19. Welcome to 263 Weller Ave, home of the Kingston Community Health Centers. We are located in the heart of Rideau Heights neighborhood. Kingston Community Health Centers is proud to be home to various community programs. We serve a continuum of care from early on all the way to healthy aging. We welcome you to Kingston Community Health Centers. We hope you enjoy the tour. Welcome to KCHC's lobby. The lobby is usually bustling with clients looking to access services. As you can see, the lobby was designed to be very welcoming and open. Some of the changes we've made is installing plexiglass shields, hand sanitizing stations, and ensuring physical distancing measures. We also have screeners working the front desk. What you see here is Cafe 263, our in-house cafe that prepares food for the community and clients. KCHC has a full range of allied health teams, including clinical, dental, social work, and various other services that support mental and physical well-being. Did you know that KCHC is also home to Early On, another United Way partner agency? KCHC has a beautiful outdoor space where Pathways Education hosts a variety of programs. Education for young people is a family event. We often host community events in this space. Pathways Education values experiential learning. We integrate land-based learning into all the work that we do. We are very grateful to have a walking track, fruit trees, and a child's play area. KCHC has 3 community program rooms. Pathways Education hosts their tutoring sessions as well as their mentorship programs in this space. Because of COVID-19, KCHC has used these rooms as a center for food distribution. This is also the home of the Good Food Box program, a program supported by the United Way. Before COVID, Pathways Education students would enter this room and finish their assignments and homework. There is access to computers, Wi-Fi, and food. All this academic support was supported by volunteer tutors from the community. Food literacy skills are very important for students to learn. As you can see, this kitchen is modeled after a home kitchen. Students will learn how to prepare meals not only for themselves, but their families as well. KCHC also has an industrial kitchen. Pathways to Education students will use this kitchen to learn real-life work skills. Welcome to the offices of Pathways to Education staff. While COVID-19 has forced our staff to work from home, advocacy for students and parents happens online and through social distancing measures. The boxes and the bags that you see here are wellness kits for students. These kits contain basic need items as well as other fun activities for students to complete at home. Pathways to Education has a small but mighty staff. This board shows all the strength-based leadership qualities that our staff possess. We use this approach to work with students in a very loving and caring way. The final room of our tour is the Calm Room. The Calm Room was designed by Pathways to Education staff and Pathways to Education alumni. We are proud of this room because it is a best practice in trauma responsive care. What this means is that we understand the vital connection between toxic stress, adverse childhood experiences, and trauma and how it relates to students' behavior. You'll notice natural elements throughout the room, such as dim lighting, soft, comfortable seating, plants, and sensory items. These features will allow students to soothe and focus their brains after a tough day. This room is great for having quiet conversations with students. It brings a sense of calm and joy to their lives. We thank you for taking time to visit our center. We hope that one day soon we can see you in person.
So I thank my colleague Roger for recording that video. The two main parts that I'm going to talk about with Pathways is firstly, my experience with the program, and secondly, what adaptations we have made for COVID. So right now I work at Pathways as an alumni peer mentor and as well as a community health youth facilitator. I am also an alum of the program. I was in the 2011 cohort, so I went from 2011 to 2015. This was the second cohort that Pathways had ever had, so it was a lot of learning along the way. So I've been very lucky to have that support while I was in high school, as well as being able to see how the program has changed and grown ever since then. Being the second cohort, the biggest thing that I saw, the impact not only for myself to have that support, but as well as my younger brother and all of my friends. Sorry, my cat just likes when I talk. But seeing my family have the support as well as my community. Now, being in the second cohort, I also saw the students who had just missed pathways. So students who were 2 years older than me, unfortunately, were not in the program because it wasn't established yet. And I very much saw the difference between those, between my friends and my friends that were my age or younger and my friends that were older, and the impact that the pathway support could have. Everything from establishing academic skills that would support later on in post-secondary, or life building skills that would help lead to meaningful employment after graduation. So I've very much seen that impact, and that's why Pathways is very important to me, and I choose to dedicate my time to it. Now, amidst COVID, much like other partner agencies, at the start of COVID, it was a lot of adaptation. So Roger mentioned in the video some of the wellness kits that we were dropping off to families. So that was at a time when we were still trying to make sure families were connected to the program, but we weren't sure how everything was going to look. Fast forward to now, and we have fundamentally reshaped how we do our programming. Typically, we would have 4 nights of academic tutoring available to students. Now with these adaptations, we have 1 dedicated night in person at KLC. We have 1 dedicated night of tutoring at the Weller site, as well as a dedicated night for virtual tutoring. So students have the option of doing virtual tutoring on a Monday, and then either at KLC on Wednesday or Weller on Thursday. Also, other programs that we have been popping up in amidst COVID, one of the fun ones is a PC chef program. So we have one of our staff members, Gary, who drops off food boxes to students, and over Zoom, they all cook a meal together. And there's enough food in that drop box for not only the student, but also their family. So they can learn the life skills of cooking a healthy meal, as well as being able to provide dinner for everyone in the household. So there have been tons of adaptations like that we've been making, and United Way has been a huge supporter of the program pretty much since its inception, I believe, as well as other elements of the program. So as I mentioned again, I'm an alumni peer mentor. This Kingston Pathway site is unique in the sense that we have comprehensive support for alumni as well. And in the past, United Way has been a huge supporter of that program. And this year, our large focus has been from transitioning youth, not only from high school to post-secondary and making sure they have all the supports in that avenue, but also transitioning from youth to adult services. Because we know oftentimes that transition is where youth tend to fall through the gaps. So we want to make sure that students, when they graduate high school, they're going to meaningful employment, they're having access to the proper services that will now support them as an adult, or we will help them in their transition towards post-secondary. So that's my overview for the program. If any of you have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat or unmute your mic and ask.
Logan, can you just remind the group, this program, what's the geographic location and how many youth join every year?
Yes, so we serve the Rideau Heights and Inner Harbor area. Typically, we have about, I think it's around 300 students in the program at any given time, ranging from grade 9 to grade 12. We also do outreach for grade 7 and 8 students, so they're more familiar with the program once they reach high school. And currently, we sit at above 280 alumni.
That's awesome. And most of the alumni are either college, university, or working?
Yeah, and we try to support them in whichever avenue they go to. Initially, our focus was very heavily post-secondary, and then we realized, well, that's not for everyone, so we want to focus on meaningful employment and employment skills that we can teach them during the program that will assist them later on.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I understand from the data, and I love data, I understand that graduation rates used to be less than 50% in the North End, and now they're, I think, almost 80%. Am I right?
Yes, so Pathways to Education is a national program, and when they're setting up sites within cities or within areas in cities, like for example, Toronto has 3 sites, they do an assessment. So the graduation rate for Rideau Heights and Inner Harbor before Pathways was around 40%, I believe, from high school. And now we sit at above 75 consistently for years. It changes a little bit with each cohort, but above 75%, around 80 most years.
That's awesome. I believe there's a question in the chat box about financial incentives requirements. So I know in the past, Pathways has given financial incentives to students if they graduate.
Mm-hmm. So that funding is decided by Pathways Canada. Right now, when students go through the program, each year they accumulate $500 for a scholarship towards post-secondary. That part has not changed. And from the support of other community organizations, we've actually been able to maintain our food incentives that we offer. So students every 2 weeks would either get cafeteria cards for their school or President's Choice cards to be able to buy food at like Loblaws or No Frills. And we have been fortunate enough to have the support where CAF cards aren't really a thing with the schools anymore, but with the President's Choice cards, we've been able to maintain the support of $30 every 2 weeks for students for food for them and their family.
That's awesome. It's kind of a wraparound, right? You take care of all the needs so the student can focus on their studies. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And every student is signed up. What do you call it?
A student parent support worker, or
Yeah.
an SPSW. So my colleague that you heard talk, Roger, when I was in high school, he was actually my SPSW. So I would meet with him every 2 weeks, and it was a conversation of, oh, hey, like, how is school going? How are your classes going? How is your home life going? Are there any other supports that you need? And the biggest part about that is if students are struggling at home for whatever reason, then that impacts their school. So as that wraparound support and that advocacy that we have from the SPSWs for the students is that we support them academically, but also if they need a community referral to any organization, if it's outside of our scope, we can do that, or we can support them in any way that we can regarding whatever issues they may be facing.
That's awesome. And Logan, it's wonderful to see you grown up and working now, because I remember when you came with Roger to speak as his buddy, the youth that he was kind of mentoring. So it's great to see you all grown up and settled in Pathways. Thank you.
It's been a journey.
Yeah. And now we go to Danny. Danny, I cannot say enough about the work that you and your staff do at Rise at 149. It's just incredible. You work with youth who are just getting out of homelessness. And so there are a number of different issues that you deal with every single day. And hats off to everything that you're doing to manage behaviors and issues and coping mechanisms during COVID. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Sorry that my background isn't as aesthetically pleasing as everyone else there, and some big shoes to follow with Sean and Logan. So thanks for the background on those programs as well. And yeah, I've been fortunate enough to see some of these early interventions be successful for the youth and helping some of them avoid accessing homelessness systems as adults as well. So really great to see, the interventions as youth have such great impact. So today I'm going to speak specifically about our supportive housing program. And so again, I do work with the Youth Services Program and I'm the program coordinator. So we serve youth between the ages of 16 to 24 years old. And I imagine that a number of you folks are obviously familiar with our program, as a number of you actually support some of our youth that live on site, as some of the Ontario Works case managers, et cetera. Just to further speak about our youth portfolio, we have 3 properties within home-based housings, youth services. And they're a combination of both transitional and long-term housing. So we have Rise at 149, which is 21 units, which is our biggest property on Kings Court Avenue. We have Journey House, which is a 5-bedroom transitional house, which is over near St. Lawrence College on Liddell Crescent. And then Sutherland, which is a 3-bedroom house, which is long-term housing over near Division Street there, the Kings Lake Plaza area. So at any given time, we're serving 29 unique individual youth within our properties, in addition to some of the community housing supports that we provide. And so I did touch on transitional and long-term housing just quickly there. And so I'll dive a little bit deeper into that. With transitional housing, the youth coming into our program sign on to a residency agreement. And it just gives us a little bit more opportunity to kind of put some guidelines in place with the tenancy to make sure that they're going to be successful. An example of that would be a guest policy, for example. And although ultimately we're not looking to be restrictive with tenancies, what this transitional housing does is it recognizes that there are times when our clients, perhaps their capacity might not be there to be able to make difficult decisions with respect to their tenancy, or have the foresight to know that a decision in this moment can have greater consequences on the long-term impact of their housing. So when I mention something like a guest policy, for example, the idea is that we can put this in place as an agreement between the youth that we're working with as a means to help ensure that their tenancy is going to be successful and positive. So for example, if a youth has trouble saying to some of their peers, I can't have you come over to my place, right? We put these guidelines in place that can help them be a little bit more firm and set their own restrictions with respect to their housing, and then ultimately contribute to their success. So in addition, we also have the long-term housing where our youth are signed on to a lease agreement, very similar to what you'd see in the community. And with that, the tenancy falls under the Landlord Tenant Board and the Residential Tenancies Act. And so they have the same kind of rights and responsibilities as any other tenant in that respect. And so within RISE, we have the 21 units there, and it is a combination of both transitional and long-term. So it is a little bit challenging having two different programs within the same building there, but at the same time, it also offers us the opportunity to offer long-term housing opportunities to youth that have been successful in the transitional program and that want some of that further support on site there. So our program uses a prioritization system with the city there that helps determine who we're going to be housing in our particular units. So we use this prioritization and a tool called the SPDAT, which is the Service Prioritization Decision Assistance Tool. And ultimately that looks at different contributing life factors that that each individual youth would be experiencing. And that helps indicate how likely someone is to become homeless. And then we start by working with those individuals first with the idea that people with some less challenges might have better luck resolving some of their ongoing challenges and issues. And so I've kind of touched on briefly the different types of housing here, transitional and long-term. In addition to the properties that Home-Based Housing has, Kingston Youth Shelter also has some transitional homes. And they had prepared a video touring their Elmwood property, which I believe Sophie's going to show as well. I also did make a quick video of RISE, and hopefully you guys will be able to have access or have a link to that at some point. Forgive me, because of the confidentiality limitations and things like that. I was only able to get into a unit when we were doing some of the maintenance turnover, so it wasn't as kind of bright and beautiful as we like it to be when the youth are moving in, but also gives you a sense of some of the work and the things that happen in between as we prepare to move the next youth in as quickly as possible. So before I talk about kind of the contributions of the United Way and things like that, maybe Sophie, we can do a quick look at the transitional house video, which is, again, this is a Kingston Youth Shelter property with the Elmwood, but perhaps we can take a look at that to get an idea of a similar program that we're talking about here.
Hello, welcome to Elmwood. This is only possible because of Mr. Smith and his generous donation and the United Way, who chose us to have the honor and the privilege of supporting these kids that are between 16 and 19. I would like to introduce you to Elmwood High School. This is where the kids completed their year, and I'm proud, so very, very proud to share that they all graduated their year with honors. It's been an incredible experience, and so proud of them. This is where a lot of the magic happens. I talk about this a lot. All of their groceries and treats and everything are bought for them, and they create a meal plan every week, and then we write a grocery list. So this has been a really great experience. So of course it's very stressful, but I am so proud of the kids and the staff and everything that they have accomplished together. Again, that is due to the amazing support. You may notice some decorations because one of our fellows, he graduated high school and has been accepted at St. Lawrence College. So we had a bit of a celebration here. We like to celebrate everything that they're doing, and I believe they would have done it anyways, but maybe a little bit longer. But they're graduating along with their classmates. They're enjoying all of the high school memories. Isn't this crazy? This is beautiful. So a lot of time is spent up here. Um, Another healing space. And this is the hallway to the bedrooms. Hi. You want to talk? Do you want to chat about how amazing you are? You are amazing. And you did amazing at school this year too. So there's 4 bedrooms up here and the shower bathroom. They all, as you can see, that they all do chores every day. So that's part of their routine, learning how to clean and, be respectful of their space and to enjoy their space. We all know that a lot of clutter and stuff, or if it's not clean, then that creates a lot of chaos. So we've already probably been through enough chaos. And here they can just breathe and get their education, get employment, make dreams come true. And the dreams come true because of you, because of your support to the United Way. And especially during this COVID, I don't even have the words to share how incredibly grateful we are for all of your support. I love that that they know how much you care, and we always talk about it. They all know, but to actually see our community come together and support these beautiful children who, as I've talked to about before, they would make you very, very proud to have as your own children. There's a lot of gifts in COVID where we've had to come together and live cohesively. And it's quite a remarkable experience watching them grow and watching them, strive to be better people and support other people and know that this world going around them is more good than anything else. And they've experienced that firsthand. So I see them paying it forward. They've already talked about, things that they would like to do. I believe that every single one of them will do that. Over the years, we've had many, many, many kids come back to the Kingston Youth Shelter and donate many things. So just know that it's not right now that you're making a difference, but you're making a difference in their future. And their future is gold. They're going to be amazing human beings, and I cannot wait to see how that all turns out, because I know that it's going to be magical, and it's going to be heartfelt pride. I love sharing that with everyone. Again, I'm very, very lucky to be able to experience it firsthand. We love every one of you, and we are so grateful that we've had your support. We always have. This has gone up like 100 notches. There's so many things to say thank you for. Please continue to support the United Way and their amazing work. It goes beyond anything you would ever dream. All of the differences they make in our community. And it really, truly, it is local love, and it stays right here. And our kids are here to prove it, and anybody else in the community will be able to say the same thing. Thank you so very, very much. Please take care, stay safe, and we'll end with a lot of gratitude.
Thanks, Sophie.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sophie, for playing that video there. So again, that is one of the houses through the Kingston Youth Shelter, but again, very similar to what we're doing as well with the transitional housing and some of those supports on site. And so with the transitional housing and the long-term housing as well, the idea is that once we help these individuals get into housing, we help build that community network of supports to help meet their individual needs. So it's very much client-led. So whether it be mental health, addictions, trauma, or just some meaningful daily activity, just looking to get these youth connected with some sort of meaningful activity, again, suited to meet their individual needs. As far as our support from the United Way, we're very fortunate benefactors from them. They've helped support our community worker position, which is a position that works on site at Rise at 149, and they provide some of the evening programming for the youth that live on site there. So the community worker, they run some life skills programming in our community room. So they have an opportunity to get youth out from their individual units into our shared space. They help do some meal preparation, and then as well some life skills programming based on whatever it is that the youth are interested in kind of building skills on. So whether it be healthy relationships, budgeting, et cetera, all sorts of different opportunities there. And then further to that, it just helps build a sense of community within our building. It helps our youth kind of buy into the fact that they live there, that it's something that they want to invest their time and energy into, and helps kind of respect the building in general as well. So very fortunate in that respect. And then throughout COVID here, we've seen some of our on-site activity increase, both with the youth not necessarily going out as much, and then a handful of guests and peers coming into the building as well. So as a result of that, we did apply to the United Way again for some additional coverage to help supplement our building, and we were very fortunate to be approved for that, and have now been able to provide additional coverage, and now provide 24-hour support at Rise, which is just fantastic. And I spoke a little bit earlier about the time-sensitive interventions and things like that. So when we have their 24-hour staffing model, it allows us to work very closely with the youth to be able to kind of remind them of the importance of some of the decision-making that they're doing in the time, and help them with making decisions such as, guest policies, things like that. And again, just ultimately making sure that they're kind of respecting the other 20 youth that live on site there. And just really recognizing the importance of those time-sensitive interventions. Throughout COVID, though, our staff did continue to work on site. We tried to limit face-to-face contacts where possible. But in addition to that, we had a number of service providers that would often come off-site and meet with our youth. We had to help them adjust to the new virtual world, which obviously we're well into right now. So that was a bit of an adjustment period as well, but just we were very fortunate to receive lots of donations in the way of technology that's helped the youth get connected and be able to continue with some of those meetings. And then just getting familiar and used to some of the virtual counseling and some of those appointments. And we've been able to get a little creative, and an incentive is you can turn off your own video when it comes to virtual counseling. So sometimes that's an incentive for someone to get connected. And again, we work with a number of different partner agencies that both work on site or through some of these virtual connections that we've made, but ultimately been very fortunate to receive lots of support from the United Way to be able to provide that community worker position, to be able to provide the additional coverage at the building, and just feel very fortunate in the sense that when youth are coming to live with us, they're often leaving homelessness or leaving the shelters for the last time, and often we've been very fortunate to see a lot of success stories from the youth that have lived with us. Recently, within the past few months even, we've had a few go off to post-secondary. We had a young lady move to Peterborough who's going to be attending Trent University, which is fantastic. One youth is out in BC pursuing culinary arts, and he had taught me a lot about some of the fine arts of culinary within Rise in the community room there, which is fantastic. Another young lady that we had living with us was very fortunate to have some additional support from the United Way. She was given the opportunity to get connected with the Toastmasters program. They gave her lots of opportunity to come speak at some of their different events, and went such a long way in helping her build her confidence and be the successful young lady that she is today. So very fortunate in that sense. And again, that's kind of our spiel on supportive housing with Home-Based Housing's youth program.
Thanks, Danny. There's a question, but I did want to mention Sabrina was the one who used to attend Toastmasters, and she spoke to a number of people, and we really enjoy her and miss her. The young man you spoke about being a chef, we just happened to be doing a tour of your location one day, and he talked to us. We had a group of people, and he mentioned how he had grown up in a car. His mother had disappeared, and his grandmother used to drive him around in a car. And the only thing that he had constant was he would go to school, and finally he was connected with services, ended up in your Rise at 149. And that was such a moving story for us to think about a young boy going through different towns in a car, right, Danny? It's hard.
Absolutely. And just for them to be able to see their own opportunities once they have that that foundation of having a place to live, having those community supports, it goes such a long way in building that confidence, just being able to kind of start to envision, you know, once you're not so worried about meeting those kind of fundamental needs, you can start to pursue other options, right? And start to see beyond kind of your day-to-day, which is just fantastic. And of course, you know, without the support of the United Way, we're not able to do or provide these supports. So very fortunate in that respect as well.
And we're fortunate to be able to learn from you about what matters to youth. And we also talked to a lot of youth. And the one thing we learned that's common to all youth who are homeless, regardless of their background, is that they've had some trauma in their background. So it's really important that they be connected with agencies like Youth Diversion, Youth Shelter, Rise at 149, Youth Services, Pathways, because these youth are getting through some really difficult challenges in their lives for whatever reason, and we need to, as a community, surround them with support so they can come out stronger the other end. They are amazingly resilient and strong, and that's what we learn from the youth we talk to. They may be homeless or they may be struggling, but they are such amazing contributors to our community now. And all it needs is a network of people, caring people like you, to surround them. So thank you for the work you do and all the agencies. Danny, there is a question. Is there a maximum? How long can you stay in transitional housing?
Yeah, absolutely. So our transitional program lasts for a year. And then again, we do have some of the long-term housing options to be able to offer some of the youth. So of the 21 units within RISE, 8 of them are designated to the transitional program and 13 are long-term units. So we're very fortunate in the sense that there is a handful of turnover within the long-term units. So again, these are often youth that maybe have come through the transitional program at one time and then moved again within RISE. There's 1-bedroom units, which are the longer term units. So they've typically come through our program. But we're very fortunate in the sense that as other youth are going through the transitional program, we found that more youth are moving out of the long term and pursuing either community housing. I mentioned some going to post-secondary. So it creates further long-term housing opportunities for some of our youth to kind of stay within that supportive housing portfolio. In addition, the house that we do have on Sutherland Drive over near the Kings Lake Plaza on Division Street, it is all long-term housing. So it's a 3-bedroom house and all the youth are signed on to a lease under the RTA there as well. So that is long-term housing. The idea is it's within our youth program. So they can stay there until they're 24 years old. But with the transitional program, just to make sure I am specifically answering it, yes, it does last for 1 year. Although there have been a few times when we have extended that if it's in the best interest of the individual. For example, we've had one young client who's been working closely with Providence Care to help them stabilize and get back to a baseline. And so we've been able to extend the transitional housing stay just to ensure that there's never any time where they have to kind of return to the homelessness system, and make sure that we're working closely with those partner agencies to make sure that they will be continually housed throughout this process.
And there's a question about crime prevention, but I'll go to the next one and then come back to that. But the question is about youth with children. And I know I've seen some families with little kids. So
yeah, absolutely. So as of right now, we do not have any young children currently living on site, but it is something that we definitely we have had in the past there. We've tried to shift our focus, and with the young parents, because of the nature of our program, we're now trying to pursue some more community housing options for those young people, just because we find that it allows them to better focus on the individual care for their young children, and it just provides them a better opportunity to kind of be successful. But with that said, yeah, we certainly have had young people live on site in the past. With the introduction of the Housing First program, when we started using this prioritization system to determine who was going to be moving into the program, the needs of our clientele did increase, and we just found that the building was a little bit more active than it had been in the past. So that kind of lent itself to our transition to look to house some of these young families out in the community as well. And we do also have some family support case managers that work specifically with people with young children as well.
Okay. The next question I'm actually going to ask Sean, but I think Danny, because it also involves One Roof, we can talk about it. But Sean, I don't know if you read the question, but have you read a thesis, master's thesis entitled Youth at Risk, Crime Prevention through Social and Program Development in the early 1990s? And it's still extremely relevant today, a blueprint on how to develop programs to assist youth at risk, as well as how to access funding through crime prevention strategies. I know, Sean, you are very familiar with this, so.
So I haven't actually read the thesis, but I would love to get a link to that, because it would be the top priority for me, because it sounds, one of the challenges that we have in the field of at-risk youth, especially around youth justice, is that there isn't a lot of research to correlate the distinction between prevention and integrating prevention programs and the impact that they have at youth who are in conflict with the law. So I'd love to read that. In terms of your second part, yeah, I can speak to it. Danny can speak to it. We've actually had an integrated care hub called One Roof for the last number of years, which has incorporated in-kind staff from close to 20 different agencies. And this model, thanks to funding, again, from the United Way, as well as a crime prevention grant, is going to be a very exciting opportunity in our community to really support youth 16 to 24, incorporating a more clinical approach to it. So maybe Danny can touch a bit more on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sean. So yeah, we have One Roof over at 426 Berry Street right now. And as Sean mentioned, it's been a partnership program that works with a number of different youth serving agencies. The idea which came out of this whole concept of a one-stop shop where youth can access all these supports on site here. And it's really done wonders in the sense of being able to collaborate with some of our partner agencies, really get to know some of the other staff that we were working with, so that when it came to making referrals or getting youth connected to other programs, it became very kind of seamless in respect to that. So prior to One Roof, we found that there were a lot of challenges, and it seemed as if a lot of these youth service agencies were working in silos, right? Everyone had the same goals, but ultimately might be doing a little bit of the same work with the same youth over a longer period of time. And so I'll credit my former manager, Tara Everett, who's now with Resolve Counseling. And yeah, it was an idea, brainchild of hers back in the time, and got a number of these different agencies back together. And of course, with the United Way support, able to make this happen. So we're just in the process now of moving locations. So going from Berry Street over to Albert Street. We've purchased the old Princess United Church there, and have a fantastic partnership, and are actually in the process of getting the new location prepared. So in addition to this kind of integrated care hub that they're going to continue at the Albert Street hub, they're looking to build an additional 40 to 60 units as well for additional youth housing. So it'll be more opportunity to provide transitional housing and long-term housing options for youth in the city. So hopefully with the idea to essentially eradicate youth homelessness altogether. But again, by bringing all those supports together, working underneath one roof, and essentially just really focusing on what kind of supports the youth can really benefit from, and really following their lead as far as the supports and whatever else that they're interested in having access to.
If I could just quickly add that it's also a really great model and example of how the youth system and the adult system has finally come together to support transitional age youth. In my years of working in this field in the community, it's always been a goal to try to find a way for the youth and the adult system, whether it's justice, housing, substance, mental health, to be better collaborative. And One Roof is a a nice shining star to hold up for that.
And what was really important was it was youth who told us that they were tired of being pushed from one place to another. They wanted this wraparound service. And so again, Tara led that charge, and 27 agencies came together, including the city, to provide support, a school and the school boards to come together. What's amazing about our community is how well everyone works together. So there aren't those silos, there are people working together. So in many communities, they struggle to have the school board at the table at a youth homelessness table, whereas our school board right away, the police, school board, city, all the agencies came together right away, because we know at the center of this are youth. What's lovely about the One Roof is that it's a comfortable place for the most marginalized youth as well. So street involved youth who are not comfortable going to other places are actually showing up at One Roof. You heard about Alexa's example. We have a high rate of human trafficking. And again, One Roof, a large number of the clients who come there are actually either coming away from that situation or are starting to access counseling, and hopefully in the long run will move away from situations where they are being trafficked or abused. So it's amazing work that's happening. We could spend all day talking about all the amazing work that happens in our community. But what we want to do, and we'll continue the conversation, it's really important to have the city participating with the community on around this issue. It's something very near and dear to all our hearts. But we'll wrap it up for now, because we know that you have real lives and work to do, and our agencies need to get back to their work as well. So thank you for taking the time. Again, we have a lot of great programs surrounding youth. Happy to talk about them, happy to connect you if you want to volunteer for any of them. And again, thank you so much for your support of the United Way. It's through the support that we as a community are able to mobilize and help each other, really keep the client at the center, and really make sure that youth in our community are wrapped around, and when they're ready for service or change, our agencies are there for them. So thank you very much. If anyone has any closing comments, I'm not sure without our bus driver who's going to wrap it up, but I'll hand it back. Maybe Laura. Laura, is it you who'll wrap it up? Okay. Well, I guess, Sarah, I think you're on mute. Yeah.
Hi, Pamela. I think they're all in a meeting. So I just want to thank everybody for coming and listening in, and hopefully we'll hear more from you soon.
Yeah, we'd love to. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
very much.